Sorry, guys. Knocked my phone off for a minute. Just a minute. All right. So it disappeared. I rewrote the words at the top. We know that we talked about kilometers or kilometers is 1,000 meters. And we talked about centimeters, because they're smaller, is only 1/100th of a meter. So it would take 100 centimeters to make 1 meter. Okay? So now they give us the distance chart down here. And they tell us that Maya, when Maya jumped 1.61 or 1/61 meters. And Tyler jumped 1.43 meters, and Claire jumped 1.57 meters. And then it gives us a problem. It says the average standing broad jump distance for 5th graders is 148 centimeters. Are each of the students in the table below at or above the average? Explain or show your reasoning. Okay? If we look at Mai's jumps, and we think about the meters, we said that 1 meter is 100 centimeters. So 1 times 100, or 1 divided by 100. Okay, so I know if it's going to be in centimeters, it's going to be a lot higher number, isn't it? And it's going to be higher by 100. So if I moved my decimal 10 hundredths, then that would tell me that mine jumped 161 centimeters. Because remember, it takes 100 centimeters to make 1 meter. Okay? Tyler jumped 1.43 meters. Well, I know that it takes 100 of those, so I know it's going to be a higher. And how much is it going to be higher? By 100 place value. So if I move it 2 times, then that tells me that Tyler jumped 143 centimeters. And Claire, if she jumped 1.57, so we know if it's meters, it's going to take a lot more centimeters, and it's going to take a more by 100 place value, so 1, 2. So now we know that Claire jumped 157 centimeters. Okay, now that we've got it converted to centimeters by saying there's 100 centimeters in 1 meter. Okay, so now we can look at this, and now we know it says the average is 48. Are each of the students in the table below or above or at average? Well, if it's 148, then Mai is above, isn't she? Okay, 143. If the average is 148 and Tyler's jumping 143, then he's just a bit below. And then Claire, if average is 148 and Claire's jumping 157, then Claire is above. Okay, on the next question. It says the world, we're going to leave this up here because we're still using it for question number 2. The world record for the standing broad jump is 337 centimeters. Jada says that's more than Mai and Claire jumped combined. Do you agree with Jada? Okay, let's look. If we look at Mai, this was Mai, this was Tyler, and this was Claire. Okay, if we take Mai and Claire and put them together, we have 161 centimeters and 157 centimeters. And if we add those together, because that's what combined means, we're putting it together. So 1 plus 7 is 8. 6 plus 5 is 11. Carry your 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. Plus the 1 we carried is 3. So combined or together, they jumped 318. And it says that the world record was 337. So if Jada said that is more than they jumped together or combined, then she's right. So yes, we do agree with Jada. Even combined, they're not jumping as far as the world record was. Okay? All right. Tyler says his jump sounds more impressive if he reports it in millimeters. Well, we hadn't talked about millimeters yet, but millimeters. It's in millimeters. Millimeters means, you know how centimeters was 1/100th of a meter? Millimeters are 1,000th of a meter. So it would take 1,000 millimeters to equal 1 meter. So if Tyler says his jump sounds more impressive if he reports it in millimeters, well, let's look. Here's Tyler's. In centimeters, it was 143. But if we are, excuse me, forgot 1 0. If it takes 1,000 millimeters to equal a meter, then what was he in meters? You remember? Since now he's in hundredths, in meters he would have been 1.43. And in millimeters, because it's based on thousandths, he would be at 1,430. Okay, because if we're moving one more place value, if we're moving one more multiple of 10, because now it takes 1,000 millimeters to equal 1 meter, so it takes 100 meters to equal 1 centimeter. This was in centimeters, and this is 1,000, which is more, one multiple greater than the 143. So if we moved it one more time to turn it into millimeters, then yeah, that looks a lot more impressive, doesn't it? It looks more impressive than 143 centimeters, and it looks way more impressive than 1.43 meters, doesn't it? They're all the same value, they're all exactly the same, but this one sounds way more impressive because it's 1,430. Okay, then it says, the question is, does the order of the jumps depend on the unit they're reported in? Well, no, because we just said that